Relax in the coaching lounge and engage with compelling, motivational speakers. Be prepared to transform your inner world, to shape your outer world through empowering discussions. Tune into the Coaching Lounge now.
You're tuned in to another episode of the Coaching Lounge with your host, Ivona Gordon, lead life coach at satellitelifecoaching.com. Listen to interviews with creative thinkers, motivational speakers, models of success, and key people of influence. Tune in, relax, engage, and transform your life now.
I'm in the Coaching Lounge with a very special guest who has joined me before. Ivona Gordon was with me 2 years ago now, and our very first interview was based on relationships and in particular getting ready for relationships. Ivona has developed very much since the time that we first met. She's added quite a lot of strings onto her bow. She's, as well as a life coach, she's a master coach, an NLP practitioner, a timeline therapist, and a facilitator, specialising in love, life, and relationships for women over the age of 35 who want to focus on getting ready for a relationship. One of the things that Ivona has done, which I think has been since we last spoke, is that she's actually achieved a diploma in relationship psychology, which sounds really fascinating. So we'll talk to Ivona a bit more about that. Ivona has over 25 years experience of working within the human resources field, and she uses this experience, especially around equality and diversity issues, to connect with individuals from different cultures. Ivona is the successful facilitator of the London Relationship Coaching Meetup. And again, we're going to ask Ivona to share information about that. There are over 500 members in that group, so it will be great to explore how that supports people who want to get relationship ready. And Ivona has produced a downloadable book which she will tell us more about right now. Good evening, Ivona. How are you today?
I'm fine. It's so lovely to be here again, Rebecca. And I can't believe it's 2 years. 2 years have passed.
2 years.
It's amazing.
2 years have passed. And actually, you've done so much. You've advanced tremendously in your coaching niche, Ivona. Because one of the things to say is that when we first had a conversation, you were at the point of writing your book. And now you've produced it.
That's right.
Okay.
It's a downloadable document. I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
And that seemed a while ago, but it's there.
That was 2016.
Yeah, it's accessible.
Yeah. And what's it called?
It's okay to be single, because you remember, Rebecca, I was at that point where I was focusing very much on being single and the advantages. I know there are some disadvantages, but looking mainly at being single and being okay with the position you're in at that moment.
Yeah.
So it's all about my experiences. So what I've done is literally captured my experience. It's a very short booklet, but it gives you a little bit of a snippet on my journey as a single person and all the things I could do and all the things that people can do while they're waiting, if you want to be waiting for a relationship.
Okay. Because some people yearn to be in a relationship. And when someone's yearning to be in a relationship, what does that do in terms of them getting ready? How does that impact them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing, really, to be in a healthy relationship. And I suppose sometimes when you're on your own, you're looking out, it appears as if everybody's in a relationship, and it can really affect your health if that's what you want. But there is obviously the downside when you're looking out there and expecting this person to turn up. You're not getting on with the other parts of your life, which are really, really important, and building up an understanding and connection of what your purpose is. So there's the pros and cons when you're just kind of waiting and preparing for this person to turn up. Okay. Interesting time.
Yeah. And if you could share with our listener, what's the most important message from your perspective from the book, It's Okay to Be Single?
Right. It's as the title stands. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be single. You're okay. You're not incomplete. Mm-hmm. You're okay as you are. And I suppose the message is looking at the opportunity to do all the things that maybe you may not be able to do when you're in a relationship. And I'm not actually saying it's bad to be in a relationship at all. I'm just saying this is the opportunity for you to, I suppose, build better connections, not just with yourself, with your family, to discover something new and exciting about yourself in terms of an interest, your hobbies, your personal development. It's quite interesting. There was a film, I don't know if you've heard or seen it, The Shift.
No, I haven't actually.
Wayne Dyer, he talks about...
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
Yes.
And it really brought this home to me, and I think I might mention it in the ebook, whereby this woman, she's, a lovely woman, she does everything for everyone in the family, and there's this unfulfilled part of her which is all linked into being an artist. She's a creative, and in this film, she says to her husband, can I spend a bit longer on this holiday because they're in a beautiful place? Mm-hmm. Because she wants the space to, I suppose, relive some of what's really important to her, which has got, I suppose, squashed whilst carrying out this role as a mother and a wife, right? And you can do it all, but sometimes it can be a challenge when you've got all these other masks going on. So my message really is use the time to really find out what you really want, to enjoy it, to spend time on your own, just thinking about who you are without all those labels on. So the message really is in the book, and then the title, It's Okay to Be Single. It's
okay to be single. Okay, so that's our first message from relationship coach Ivona Gordon. Okay, so Ivona, tell me, who do you work with predominantly?
I work mainly with women over 35, and it's an interesting age and a group. I think last time I may have mentioned 40, but what I found was there's a lot of women at that age coming up to 40. Okay, there's still 5 years, but you can feel the pressure. If they've been in a situation where they've had some bad relationships and there's this pressure to get married, pressure, external pressure and internal pressure to get married, and they're panicking. So that's one side, a group of people who may just fall into a relationship because there are external things going on. They feel, I should be married, I should be having children. Okay, so I'm generalising. Yeah. And then you've got the women that are way past 35 who have had very good careers. I suppose you could call them independent women. Bad experiences again, so there's this theme that's going on there, and they're kind of a little bit wary about getting into a relationship, but they're looking, I suppose, for a longer term relationship. So there's two groups of women. But the interesting thing, Rebecca, I do work with men as well.
Right, I was going to ask that question. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know, actually. It's good to know because it's about the balance, isn't it? And
absolutely.
Because you are a coach. So I would imagine people come to you to be coached on how to get ready, which is, helping them to develop themselves. Because actually when we are 35, 40... 50 and beyond that and want to be in a relationship, we might be stuck in our own patterns.
Yes.
Yes, and therefore the pattern might be something that we need to look at so that we can, use our skills, strengths or whatever to attract who we want rather than, just expect someone to come and fit into the pattern.
Yeah, and that is what that's the work that I've been doing since we last spoke 2 years ago, really getting to the core issues that may be stopping people from developing healthy relationships. What are they? Okay. And to be able to work with them so that they can unpick those blocks, those ties, and move forward and find love.
So let's explore that a little bit more, Ivona, that notion there about the blocks and the ties. So if you can sort of, like, I know it's going to be general, you've worked with a lot of people, but from your experience, what are some of the core things that can prevent someone from being really relationship ready?
Not actually experiencing a healthy relationship, because what they've experienced is what they've experienced from a very young age. And although they may have wanted a certain type of person, they still get in the same type time after time. So it's a combination of they don't know any better. And some of it links into, I suppose, being a little bit scared as well. Scared of rejection, lack of self-worth, perhaps just picking whoever picks them rather than making a decision and being very clear what they want. So it's rushing into things without any thought, any real understanding, any connection with who they really are at a deep level. So that's some of the, I suppose, the downside when people are not relationship ready and they're going down a path which isn't right for them because they don't know. They haven't been, I guess, enlightened to know what is right and what doesn't serve them.
It's almost as if you're waiting at the bus stop, a bus comes along and you think, gosh, I've got to catch this one because another one's not going to be along for ages.
Absolutely. I mean, the image, it's that as well. But if you go on my website, I don't know if you've had the opportunity, there may be a cartoon character or somebody kind of lassoing somebody in, saying, oh, there's somebody, you lasso them in, drag them in, force them in there, and they don't really want to be there, right? So you could be the one that's been dragged in, or you're dragging somebody else in, but it's not for the right reasons, right? So it's really about them being honest with themselves and knowing who am I, who will fit into my life, and what's important to me.
Okay. So it's the strength to actually say, well, you know, this person's interested in me, but actually that's not my kind of person. And you can just go by the wayside, you know, and just keep your standards and, you know, your boundaries there. Yeah.
And it's having that confidence as well.
Because it's not easy to do that, is it?
It's not easy, and as I said, particularly if we're talking about the group of people, and I want to emphasise I'm generalising, because not all women over the age of 35 will be lacking confidence and not be able to make a decision. But as you know, a lot of this is unconscious, and it's all the beliefs we hold about ourselves which have been set by the time we're 18. As you know, 95% is set unconsciously. So even though we're wanting one thing, we're attracting another, and we don't get it. So all we're doing is, I suppose, blaming other people. We're not looking to see what we can do for ourselves, and having the confidence and the time to spend to do the inner work, which I've done. You know, I don't talk about things that I haven't actually done myself.
So you walk the talk.
I have to, because I wouldn't feel authentic unless I've kind of gone through a process myself.
Yes. And are you in a relationship yourself now?
I am indeed, and it's going through that process of being single and having some interesting relationship experiences beforehand, and just realising, look, what am I going to do for me? And spending that time out, hence the book, It's Okay to Be Single. And the interesting thing is, once I knew myself, knew I was comfortable in my own presence, right, felt happy and content, in terms of loving myself. So the shift from liking to really loving myself and knowing my values, I felt relaxed. And when you feel relaxed, that's when the magic happens without you even expecting it. So yes, I've been on a journey, and I haven't said, right, I want to get relationship ready. I did this because I felt it was important to do that, to reconnect with what I'm about at this age. Because if you compare yourself like 20 years ago, it's kind of different person. And yeah, once you start feeling strong, independent, but full of love, because the love has to come within so that you can show the love out, you will attract, guaranteed, the person that's right for you.
Okay. So some women attract the wrong type of person. And the person that they attract, they might be in a relationship and that relationship ends, and then, after a while they're in another relationship, and it could almost be the same person because the behaviours are the same.
Yeah.
So what might cause someone to attract, it could be the bad boy, or, what might cause someone to attract the same type of character?
Yeah, I think again it's about their worth, or what they believe they're worthy of having. And I believe a lot of this is unconscious, that they're still attracting. It could be it's what gives them the buzz, because if you're brought up in an environment where there's a lot of drama, it becomes normal. So it could be that there's some part of their life they're, I suppose, reenacting, right? Unconsciously, they don't mean to be in that kind of unsettling situation, but a lot of it is unconscious. And I do a lot of work, and I have done in the past, with trying to get individuals to cast their mind back over their previous relationships, and to look at the negative parts in those relationships, and to look at the themes that's emerging. And as you rightly said, Rebecca, it could be the same person just with a different name. They need to have insight. You get that aha moment, and realise, that's a theme. And does it serve them? And to be really honest, is it serving them, attracting the type there?
Now
and as
I would say that's a brilliant question to write down and ask yourself if you're in such a dilemma at this moment.
I think one of the important things I try to flag out when I'm working with people is to accept that we can't control the outcome of a relationship. There's this thing about, if I do this, this will happen. There's no guarantee. That's the reality. We cannot control the outcome of a relationship, but what we can control is how we manage our emotions within that relationship. And therefore, all the things that I kind of flagged up before, being very clear and having your personal boundaries, that's when they kick in. So you know whether this isn't aligned with what you're about, and if you have to step out, you step out. You step out of that situation.
Yeah. And that's really good to hear. It's about having faith that actually, like you say, the right person will be attracted to you because you know who you are, you know what you're about, and you're not willing to settle for anything less. That's it. So let me ask you then. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a couple of articles that talk about being 35 and women should lower their standards, because if you compare a 35-year-old with a 21-year-old, it's going to be a struggle to get the person that you really want. And I'll beg to differ. I think the person that wrote that was just being quite cynical.
Well, I'm with you on this one, Ivona, because I think, and again, we are generalising. We're not saying concretely, this or that age group. But I think sometimes younger females, younger women, don't really recognise that actually they should raise their standards.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I've heard it said that, sometimes, in this day and age, sort of like if we're from, certain areas, some females think that going to McDonald's is a date. You know? Yeah.
It's true. I think it's just, it goes back to the stuff that I did at school. Do you remember last time we spoke and I was talking about the mentoring work and some of the youngsters I worked with at the time, young girls, and you can see where this lack of self-worth really kicks in, and if it's not dealt with at that young age, it continues on. So in other words, they will sacrifice their needs to please the other person. So in other words, they have no boundaries. They have no clear boundaries. They don't know what is right, what is acceptable and what's not. So it's building that real confidence in young people, as girls and boys, right at an early age, because as I said, the longer you leave it, it's harder to unpick some of the things because they're more set in a way. Okay. So if you're talking about somebody in their 50s, it's hard to really tinker with some of the stuff, but it's not impossible.
Well, that's why you're there.
Absolutely.
Because, working with a professional coach on something like that is the thing to do, so that you can have the perspective, balanced and get feedback from someone like yourself. So you're doing great work there. So Ivona, what I'm going to do is ask you now. I have got a question from a listener, but before I ask that question, how does someone know that they are ready for a relationship?
Right, how do they know? Sometimes you just know, right? So you could go by your intuition, your instinct. But if we're going to talk in a more kind of practical way, it's knowing you're okay in your own company, right? So you can sit there and say, I'm fine on my own, not needing somebody around to make you happy, to entertain you. Find that you can be happy on your own. Know that strong enough to know when to say yes, to say no, know what your values are, as I mentioned before, what your interests are. Be very clear on your purpose while we're on this earth, because I believe we're all on this earth for a reason, right? And be really clear what their journey is about. Now, I'm not saying that everything has to be clear. So even if you look at the wheel of life, which looks at all areas of our life, it doesn't mean that you've got to have your health 100% and enough money in the bank. I'm not saying that. But knowing that if they really appreciate themselves and love themselves and respect themselves and okay in themselves all the good bits and the not so good bits, the areas that they still need to work on, then they're on that path. But they also need to be clear what they want from a relationship. What is it they want from a relationship? And what are they going to bring to the table? Because it always seems like it's take what they're going to give to me rather than what you're going to give to them.
So when you work with your clients, do you go through a written exercise as a tool to explore that?
There's lots of exercises. There's homework. I wouldn't like to call it homework because that may have a crumble button. I know when I was at school, I thought, homework, takeaways, whatever you want to call it, because the program that I have specifically devised to get people relationship ready means them having to reflect and do some work without me being there. And it is looking at their life map. I'm not sure if you've done that before, where you're looking at your life map and looking at the high points and the low points. And when you look down at the low points, that's going to give you indication of areas which may have affected the way you view relationships, not just relationships on an intimate basis, but relationships with others. It's going to be telling you something about yourself.
Very true, yes.
Right. So yes, there are exercises for them to do.
Okay. So tell us more about the Get Me Relationship Ready program. How long is that program?
Right, it's a 12-week program. So we speak on a weekly basis, and it's 12 weeks, and some may look at it and say, well, that's quite long, but it's surprising what progress happens within a couple of sessions. And it has been known for people to even start dating and start going out there where they felt uncomfortable within a couple of sessions. So it's almost like taking them on a journey. It's a bit like the bus stop scenario again, isn't it? You've got your bus stop, and you're on the bus, and maybe you've got your luggage, and some of it doesn't serve you very well, so you're going to be dropping them off at various stops, and then when you get to the end, you're very clear, you feel lighter, you're very clear what you're about. So it's 12 weeks, but the way I've devised it in a framework which I call the DRS model.
Okay.
And it's dismantle, rebuild, and secure, right? And just to help with a bit of an analogy going on, I love my analogies. If you can imagine, it's like a house. You're a house. You've heard the phrase, get your own house in order. Yeah? Sometimes we need to get ourselves in order before we start reaching out to expect somebody to enhance our life and bring joy into our life. How are we? How is our house? So at the dismantle stage, it's breaking down to some extent some of those negative thoughts or beliefs about ourselves. And if you can imagine, like the house analogy again, you've got bricks, and some of the bricks are getting a bit dodgy, and they're not going to stand the time. So you may need to get rid of some of those bricks. The bricks may mean something. It's not saying that you're totally wrong. I don't want people to think that they're broken. It just means that we need to raise awareness. Are there things going on in our life, in our home, which is us, that again isn't serving us? So it's dismantling and being very clear on our journey. And I listen a lot to Iyanla Vanzant. She's one of my role models. And she does talk about your pathology, your history. And it is so true. We have to accept, we can't help really where we're at right now because we didn't know any different, because it's just been carried through. But this is the whole point, is to be enlightened over what may have happened in the past, which we weren't aware of, but we can change. We can be aware of it now, and to decide that some of it's not appropriate for us now. So the dismantle stage is kind of breaking down some of those things, looking at your life map, looking at the ups, the downs, the frustrations. It's quite open. And then you're talking about the rebuild, and you can imagine it's rebuilding or restructuring. So maybe the bricks just need restructuring a little bit. And just looking at what do you want instead? What do you need to kind of let go of? Because a lot of it is about moving forward. If we're talking again at bad relationships, they can stay with us, and we, even though we may want somebody's different, we're getting the same sort of person. So you can imagine that heaviness is still with us. We have to learn to let go of some of the, I suppose, mistakes, if you want to call them mistakes, we've made in the past, and just move on. So I work with them in a very gentle way. Right. Okay. And moving them forward. And then obviously you've got the secure part, whereby you can imagine if it's a house again, you've got the cement, and you've got all the things in the house, the lock to keep you safe, all the things like your personal contract, all the things that will bring you out of moments of when you dip. Sometimes we do dip, don't we, in life. We have to get back up again. So that's what it's about. It's a framework, and within the framework there are 12 steps that will take them right through to stepping up and stepping out, really. Good. And being ready.
So it's quite a structured format, and you walk people through that, so at the end they feel relationship ready. Yeah.
Absolutely. And although this structure, sorry to interrupt, although this structure is within that, there's some flexibility because an individual will be individual and I have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, yeah. So I just need to ask you, because it sounds like a lot of deep, deep work that's going on when you're on that journey with a client, which is fantastic. So that person's done a lot of work on themselves. Let's say they then meet someone, and the person they meet is fantastic, they're great, but there are some, slight things that we might be concerned about. But we know we've done the work on ourselves.
Yeah.
The other person may not have gone through a similar program. So there's a little bit of great compatibility, but a little bit of incompatibility, perhaps, or something there. So how does the person who's done their work work through that? Do you know what I mean? It's quite a loaded question, really. But
it's a lovely one, isn't it? I mean, again, you can only really be responsible for yourself. I know that's the danger. I know I've probably done in the past where I've tried to fix people, and because I'm in a better place, or I believe I'm in a better place, and I can't always understand why they can't do X, but they've got their own journey to do. Now, if you're at the stage in a relationship which is very open, and as you know, there's various stages when you get to know somebody where you're being very, very open and you feel comfortable that you can share your experiences with them for them to consider, then that's fine. But you can't always force somebody to come along and do the work on themselves, because they may feel that you're telling them what to do, and it can be very uncomfortable. But what they can do is see how you are. I mean, that's the best thing, rather than tell, is to show in your behaviour. People watch what you do, not so much what you're actually saying to them. Right? So you need to continue being you, but also to look at your list, if you want to call it your list, or your personal contract, which you would have drawn up for yourself, to see how important is this element for me in terms of making sure this relationship works. Can I still maintain a healthy relationship with this person? Now, if 80% of the relationship is fine, then that is pretty good, because you're not going to get 100%. But if what they're doing is not aligned to what you're about, then you need to take some action. You need to probably have a conversation with yourself first, and likely with the other person. Right? So it's all about taking your own responsibility, but respecting where that person is at the moment, and not forcing them to fast forward and be exactly like you.
Right, okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, it's a great answer. I mean, it almost sounds as if, yes, we need to be fully honest, okay? And also, bearing in mind where the other person is, knowing that actually, we might be at different places here, so is this really, the right thing for me? Now, I have a question here, which I'm going to actually share with you now, and I'm going to have the listener state the question themselves. I hope that you'll be able to hear it, okay? Here we go. Okay.
Hi, Coach. I got a question that you could ask your guest. A relationship question. Obviously, I'm single, but this is just a question. Is it better to grow with somebody or glow with someone? My definition of grow with someone is just supposing you meet somebody and you're both necessarily not in the positions or places that you want to be in life, or one person is further on in their life than the other. Is it best to grow with each other, help each other up, and, motivate each other? Even though it sounds good, it's not an easy thing to do, because one person's playing catch up, and with that can form insecurities in your significant other. And the glow part, when I mean glow, it's when you meet somebody and you're on the same level financially, morally. It's a picture perfect, basically. It looks good on paper. Where do you think the more substance lies? Because I think if you grow with somebody, you're planting more of a foundation and roots. Even though if you grow with somebody, yeah, everything's easier. You want to do things together, it will be easier to front the bill. You want to travel, yeah, everything is financially easier. But will it be spiritually easier, if you get what I mean? It's kind of a two-part question, but yeah, that's just my thought on that.
Isn't that a very deep question?
Wow, that's a beautiful question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it best to grow or glow with somebody? Grow being working things together,
Yeah.
you know, supporting one another, or glow in that everything seems perfect, you know, everything's matched.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful question.
beautiful
And you know what?
So,
it's one of those.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a right or wrong to that. And all I can see when I was listening to what you were saying, it's just like they're not separate, they're together, because in life, things change. You know, life isn't straightforward, even with the glow bit. We're being tested externally and internally. So when we're being tested internally and externally, you do need that person to be growing and working with you at the same time. So for me, I can see where he's coming from, but I believe the way life is, it's not all plain sailing. There will be challenges. And also the interesting thing, and what also came to mind, was that phrase, I'm not sure it's come from, maybe from Ivona, which says some people come into your life for a season, a reason, and a lifetime, right? Depending where you're at. Really. So all that has to be taken into consideration. But even, I suppose if I go from my own personal experience, yes, I was very clear what I wanted in a relationship. And the finance bit was financially independent, in that I didn't feel the need to worry about them financially. They didn't need to be earning more or anything like that. They just needed to be independent. And the whole personal development part was there as well. There was quite a list, really, but I think there was a reasonable list. But along the way, there are challenges. There's no denying. On paper, it looks absolutely fine. But there are challenges in terms of how sometimes we process information, how we see things. Right, so you're going to get into some challenges regardless. So the paper is just a paper. It's a paper exercise, but you need to still put in the practicalities of the day-to-day challenges that we're going to come across anyway. And can you still, you'll still need to grow and you still need to glow. So the mixture is beautiful. If you can mix those both together, it will be absolutely spot on.
Right. Fantastic.
So my point is, it's hard to separate that. I think that's what I'm summarising.
Yeah. Okay. So, an awesome question and an equally awesome answer. Thank you very much. So I'm going to move forward now a little bit and sort of like just ask some questions that might relate directly to particular scenarios. Okay. So let's just talk about the busy working woman. Okay. You said, the independent woman. So let's just, the scenario is you've got a woman, she might have some children already from a previous relationship. She's in a job or studying, so she's, quite productive and quite caught up with day-to-day living. Okay. Not in a relationship, but would desire to be in one. But her life revolves around her family, around work, So how can someone in that sort of position position themselves to, be in a relationship?
Right. Sometimes you just need to break the pattern, because if we look at what we're doing every day, sometimes we're doing that Because it's comfortable, it's comfort zone, and you know what to expect. And if you break the pattern, and instead of maybe going home after work to see, I know even the kids are all grown up, just to see how they're getting on, you may decide to try a new hobby or do something different or go a different route of work to home. Right, just to break the pattern, and it's surprising who you're going to meet along the way. So it's just to do something that's out of character.
Right.
But again, it's knowing what's your passion, what would really be interesting other than work. Not saying that work cannot be interesting, because I love what I do, and if I could do this 24 hours I probably would.
Yes.
But it's to do something different, to spend that time. That's what I was saying, when you're relationship ready, you're okay in your own company, and when you're in your own company, you're able to think about you, right, and what you want to do, where you want to go, and even the type of person that's likely to spend some time with you or share your life with. So it's just to break the pattern and say yes for a change. If somebody invites you somewhere, right, say yes, and take away the masks, the hats that we wear, which do protect us sometimes, and just find out who that individual is behind the mask.
Okay.
Just go for it. Just go for it.
Okay, good. Okay. So the next scenario is somebody, and yes, I think much of our conversation has been about women. We'll even talk about men in a short while. But yeah, let's just go for a female. She's tried the dating scene, and now she's looking at exploring internet dating. So she has explored internet dating, and she's finding that she can never meet anyone who's of substance. You know, you've got people who might have an agenda, or they, bring a certain vibe in the communication. You know, and this female, she's getting quite frustrated and despondent when it comes to internet dating. So what would you share with that?
Right. Well, I've got my own views on internet dating, which I'm not a fan of. Right, because it's you don't really know the true person until you see them. I know that's the starting point. That's the gateway, is to go through this route and then see them. Because I believe to develop a relationship, you need to see, you need to feel, you need to smell them, and you need to do it quite instantly. And you can be wasting your time unless you're very clear on what you want on the site. And as this person, if they've been very clear what they want, and it's matching the person at the other end, then all well and good. And I know people who've gone down the internet dating route and have done very well. But I'm also for the matchmaking side as well. So in my program, what I tend to do, I don't sort of say that they're guaranteed at the end to meet the person of the dream. It means that they're ready to start exploring, and it could be internet dating or it could be matchmaking, right? So I'm a fan very much of that. Allowing somebody professional to take some details of what they're like on a face-to-face basis and getting the introduction that way.
I see.
So I suppose I'm a little bit biased on the internet dating side.
No, it's a nice perspective, actually, isn't it? Because there are so many dating sites out there now, and it can actually be, I'm going to say, quite scary for someone doing it for the first time, or B, quite dangerous, really, because, like you say, you don't know who you're going to meet.
Yeah. I suppose the way you could be looking at it, I mean, it's an option. It's an option. We're lucky we've got loads of options. If it's a case of dating very safely and getting into the situation where you're having to have a conversation with somebody about yourself, then that's fine, because some people have lost the touch of actually just communicating well.
Yes.
When you talk about dating on an intimate basis, so that it's an opportunity to do that, but also to get clarity what you don't want. So if you can hone in on, I suppose, your expectations, your relationship expectations. That's a good way of approaching it. But there are some dating sites. There was one that I quite liked. I didn't use it myself, but I know the person that runs it, and it seems as if they've done a lot of work in terms of making it safe. So those who signed up had given this commitment that they want to meet somebody on a long-term basis, and it was very serious. So there is one which I don't mind flagging up to people if they were to approach me about it.
You've given us some information about that. You must tell us who it is.
Well, it's the organisation, the dating agent is called Her Smile.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the person that runs the dating agency, he found me on Twitter and he wanted me to comment on the site, and I looked at it. I kind of delayed a little while and looked at it, and I thought, I said I wouldn't mind recommending my clients to it because it seemed professional, it seemed safe, and the guy actually came along to one of my meetups, so I got to know him very well, and I wouldn't hesitate recommending of all the dating sites that I've come across. I think people will be safe on that one.
Yeah, because there are so many. It's nice to get a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Ivona, let's talk about men.
Right, okay. Good subject, isn't it?
Very good, yes. So, men, when you have some male clients coming to you, what might be the general things that they need to work through?
Believe it or not,
would like to work through.
Believe it or not, confidence.
Okay.
I know we tend to talk about women and some women and the lack of confidence, men as well, finding it quite difficult to approach women and needing that 100% reassurance that if they were to approach a woman, that the answer would be yes. So if you think about it, in reality, it's quite a hard job if you're going to live up to the tradition of men approaching women and possibly getting turned down. So, there were men over the age of 35. There's one I think of specifically, he was around that age or coming up to 35, wanted a long-term relationship. All his friends seemed to be settled down, and he was very, very shy. And I worked with him over a period of 6 months. We didn't speak every month. It was 3 sessions. Yeah. And the good thing about him, and I think that with some of the men I work with, is that they take action, right? Okay. You know, they like to problem solve. So if this is what you're suggesting, they're likely to do that. And he took the action. Right. And he approached a woman, and I think, within 6 months, he was living with her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a lovely story. So it was a confidence one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, because you would think that's more for the women, than for the men. Okay, so let's talk about your meetup group, and I know you've had a lot of success with that. When did you set the meetup group up, Ivona?
Right, I celebrated 3 years.
Wow, congratulations.
October the 30th. Yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah. It was set up really on the recommendation of my daughter, who holds your name, Rebecca Gordon.
Yes. 2 of us in the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it was right at the beginning of realising I wanted to do relationship coaching, and I've been running workshops and different events ever since. Yes. I went through a period of focusing on self-love programs. Okay. So I've done that. I've done workshops with men just talking. Yeah. I've done joint events as well, bringing in speakers to work alongside me. I'm trying to open it up so that people turn up, don't just hear me. I think people need variety as well. But I'm very pleased with it. And it's going strong. And it's my baby, one of the many babies I've got.
Fantastic, yeah. So, I mean, when I see the feedback from on the Facebook, your account, and see people commenting on some of the events I've been to, it's really buzzing. So congratulations.
Yeah, I think you get a good kind of community feel. I mean, friendships are being formed. That's what I love. People come together. It's sharing ideas, supporting one another, and socialising afterwards. I mean, that was one of my visions, so that people can feel in a good place as well.
So can I ask, have you done any sort of like, not speed dating, but have events where people can meet a match?
Not yet, but I'm working with somebody, and that's somebody else who found me on Twitter. Twitter's amazing, isn't it? And there's a couple of projects happening, and one of them was one which linked into almost like a quiz, like a love quiz, but it's one where you can bring your friend along, so it doesn't seem as if it's like proper speed dating. So there's a project that's happening. The person that's involved in it isn't in the country at the moment, but I haven't set one up myself yet.
So it's a case of watch this space.
Yes, watch the space. I think it'll be really exciting.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Okay. So I'm really loving this interview, Ivona, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the quick fire questions, and then we will get your contact details to share with our listeners, and we'll take it from there. Okay, cool. Now, I've just realised that I didn't announce my name when I started the programme. And that's because I was so keen to get into the interview with Ivona Gordon. We share the same surname, but we aren't related, as far as I know. And Ivona's daughter has the same name as myself. So I'm Rebecca Gordon. I'm the host of the Coaching Lounge. I'm also the lead coach at satellifecoaching.com. Please take a look at my website. And right now we are discussing relationships with Ivona Gordon, relationship specialist, who has a downloadable book called It's Okay to Be Single, who also is the facilitator of the London Relationship Coaching Meetup Group, which is all over London. Do you meet in various locations around London, Ivona?
It tends to be in East London, but it could be anywhere. I've had social events in the city, in central London, but it tends to be in a very lovely place in Stratford, which I love, I would say. That's where I live.
Yeah, because the environment's important, isn't it, as
Absolutely,
well?
it's lovely.
And Ivona has explained her DRS model, which is a 12-step process that will support individuals in getting single people truly relationship ready. And the DRS stands for Dismantle, Rebuild and Secure. So Ivona, we're at the stage of going through the quick fire questions. Before I do that, I actually have a question about your 12-step model, your 12-step program. If someone can't spare the time to go through the 12-week program, what's the alternative?
Well, I'm very flexible, and a lot really depends where they're at. So as you flagged up just now, we're talking about dismantle, rebuild and secure. Maybe they've done a lot on the dismantle stage, and it may be kind of honing in on some of the bits that's at within the other stages. So yes, I can adapt that. Okay. It's really, really important to have a good conversation with them first. So it could be a shortened version, or they may want to spend half a day or a full day with me. Okay. Yeah, I'll come where they're at. I think that's the important thing, to treat them as an individual and see where they're at.
I see. So do you do sessions via Skype?
By Skype, yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Okay, great. Okay, fantastic. We will share your contact details towards the end of the programme. But now for the quick fire questions. Are you ready, Ivona?
I am ready.
Great. First question, what was the last book that you read?
Last book I read, where was it? I think I was rereading Feel the Fair and Do It Anyway. I've got a habit of reading several books at once. And there's that new book, which it's again Gary Chapman, but it's one for singles. So I tend to, dipping into all sorts depending on what I'm doing at that time.
Okay. So, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, a classic book, isn't it?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I think that's my first personal development book I bought.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And as you're rereading that book, what message jumps out to you from that?
It's to step out the comfort zone. I mean, I've been on a journey, hence that I've honed in on where I'm at. And there are obviously times in my life where I think, can I do this? Is this the right thing to do? But all we've got is now. So it's to enjoy the experience, to not allow the fear to get in the way. And if something doesn't go according to plan, there's ways of doing things differently and not to dwell on it.
Okay, great. And amongst some of your reading material, if there is one book that you would suggest or recommend to a listener, what is that book?
It's the Barbara Dengelis book.
Okay.
Oh, Are You Really the One for Me? I think that's what it's called.
Barbara
Are You the One for Me?
Oh,
Yeah. Also, How to Avoid Making Deadly Relationship Mistakes by Nigel Beckles, which is a really thick book which contains a lot of the stuff that I've needed, but in different books. It's all in one.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So I will put these titles up.
I will put them.
Your promotional page. Excellent. Okay. So in my podcasts for 2017, and when I've done these quickfire questions with my previous guests, I've told them that my word for 2017 is traction. I just love that word. It's sort of like getting a grip to move forward, yes?
Oh, that's a good word.
Yeah. So what's your word for 2017, Ivona?
I had two. Okay. I had fun and I had collaboration, and that's what I've had.
Great fun.
Lots of people have collaborated with me, and I've had a lot of fun along the way.
That's really good. Okay. And tell me, it might not be fair to ask because you might say all of them. So which event stands out for you that was, a fun collaboration?
The one I really enjoyed was an event with somebody who's a professional photographer, and we run a camera confidence workshop for women. So it's getting them confident in themselves just before they go in front of the camera. We go off to really lovely places and they enjoy the moment. And the last one was absolutely amazing. I think people felt free. They really found themselves. I always get emotional. I don't know why I get emotional when I see them enjoying having their photos done.
Okay, so they can actually walk away with a photo that represents.
Well, it will be sent to them digitally.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, you're doing a lot of stuff, Ivona.
I love that one. I really do.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so next question: are you a hammer or a nail?
I think I'm a bit of a hammer.
Okay, tell me why.
I keep at it. I think. I think some people can't keep up with me, to be honest. I can hammer away and keep going. And I suppose I've had to learn to rein it in a little bit because I'm so excited about life. I just want to have a go, so I'll keep on it, tapping away.
Brilliant. Okay.
Good question. Good questions.
Okay, good. Yeah. So the next one is, who inspires you?
Who inspires me? So the person that really inspires me is my mum. Really, I know it seems an obvious one, but my mum, I can't do anything wrong. And there's one phrase she used to say to me when I was young: "Nobody's better than you." And I suppose it's about being our own self, knowing that we're unique.
Absolutely.
And she follows what I do all the time. She's always supportive, so she inspires me.
I've seen a picture of your mum on Facebook. She's very youthful, isn't she?
She is, and I saw her this evening, well, not this evening, lunchtime. mum and dad for lunch. It was lovely.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. Lovely. Great. You're very blessed. Very good. Okay. And you've intimated at some of the projects you've got coming up. But if you could share sort of like between now and the end of the year, what's next for you?
Sorry, I missed that one.
What's next for you?
Oh, what's next for me? Right, what I've decided to do is run a series of relationship discussion groups. And it's called Relationship Dilemma. Let's discuss. And it's just an opportunity for people to offload with a purpose. And it's affordable. I don't like the idea of people just carrying things in their head and it going round and round and round and not being able to offload and get some answers or get clarity over the next best step for them. So I'm running a series of those. That's to the end of the year.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. And just to say, that's a really good outlet, because one of the things that some people might be doing is talking to a friend about the relationship and the things that are going wrong, and that person's not objective enough, are they? So therefore, to have a structured, like you say, intentional focus where people are moving forward.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, friends will just tell you what you want them to tell you. This is them talking about it and getting some clarity.
Okay, that sounds exciting. So what we will do now is ask for your contact details. The website first of all, please.
It's www.relationshipready.co. Okay, so .co, right?
Yes, okay, good. And an email address?
It's Ivona, Ivona, at relationshipready.co.
Okay. And is there a contact telephone number of somebody?
I have one, but let me just check. I always forget the business one.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask me another question as I find the
I mean, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter.
I'm on most social media platforms.
So the thing to say is that if people really want to find you, they will, because you're all over the place.
Yeah. And I think my name is a little bit unique, isn't it? There are some Ivonas around, but they tend to not look like me. So, it's an unusual name. I'll give you my telephone number. It's the work one. It's 07486 698 231.
Excellent. So people have, listeners have a range of ways to be in contact with you, to find out more about what you do, about your meetups, about your programs, and how they can get coaching to be relationship ready.
Absolutely. And to flag up, if any of your readers would like an hour complimentary call,
right,
then the information is on the website. Okay. They just need to book.
Fantastic. That's good.
And I'll be there for them.
I can imagine you might be inundated, Ivona.
It's all about serving. It's all about helping people move forward.
That's right. So, Ivona, what are any last words you'd like to say? Any last comments?
Yes, I would share a sentence which is, treat yourself well. So I'll share another sentence. Make sure you look after yourself as you would look after somebody else in a relationship or when you're dating. Make sure that you treat yourself respectfully and just have time out for you. Enjoy your own company.
Excellent. Thank you so much for spending time with me in the coaching lounge today, Ivona. I've enjoyed it. Our second interview, and a lot of added value and content, so that our listeners can develop the confidence and know how they can actually become more relationship ready.
Thank you so much for having me again, Rebecca. I really appreciate it, and I've really enjoyed talking to you again too.
Thank you very much, Ivona.
Thank you for tuning into the Coaching Lounge. Join us next time for more insightful interviews with inspiring guests. You can hear previous shows on SoundCloud by searching for Satellite Life Coaching. We're always interested to hear your feedback and topic suggestions, so don't hesitate to email us on info@satellitelifecoaching.com.